Hello everybody. Today I'd like to do a little tutorial with you on how to create a UI style guide and talk a little bit about the importance of creating UI style guides for a website, an app design, or any kind of interactive application. So what is a UI style guide? Well, in a nutshell, it is your roadmap. When you design a website or an app, it is your roadmap to explain all the particles that makes up the actual interface and the design. So a UI style guide contains many aspects. It contains things like color palette. It contains very important elements such as typography, the headlines, the subheadlines, the H2s, H3s, H3s, what type of look and feel a paragraph is going to have, what does a text label look like, the all-important UI elements, forms, form inputs, what does it look like when there is an error in a form input, things like pagination, how your social media icons are going to look like, the system icons that you're going to use, and then obviously very important, how your navigation is going to look like. UI style guide is important for good UX because any web developer will need some guidance as to how he is going to develop the site. By looking at your style guide, he'll have a very good idea of actually how to proceed with the big build of the app or the actual website. There's a lot of examples on the web. I'm going to show you two that I found very inspirational. This one called Cast that I found online to me was one of the most comprehensive style guides. Again, it has primary colors, secondary colors, the typography, the paragraphs too, a text label as I showed you, buttons, small buttons, large buttons, radio buttons, the switches, etc., etc. Another one that I found that wasn't as comprehensive, but also very good. Another example that I found was this one from Pat, which is a little bit smaller, but then also it has very important components such as the primary colors, the secondary colors. It laid its type out a little bit differently. It's got all its icons, the UI elements, what does the button actually look like in its normal state, in a hover state, in a press state, again, the forms, etc., etc. If you go to Pinterest or you go to Dribbble, you will find a lot, and that should help you to guide you in what is necessary. But the most important thing that is necessary is obviously what are my color palette, what is my main fonts that I'm going to use, and what is all my elements, what are they going to look like, what are their font families, what are their size, what are their leading. All right, I found a very interesting article that I want to share with you, and it's by Brad Frost, and it's about atomic design. And atomic design is actually very simple but fairly complex. Okay, every design is actually built first. It's made up of rather from atoms, and then we put a lot of atoms together. We get molecules, and from molecules we get organisms, and from organisms we can get templates, and then obviously from templates we can get pages. And that is kind of like what it actually should look like. So an atom is your simplest part, and then together two atoms form a molecule, and so on. And at the end we get to build a page. I love this periodic table of elements, which actually show you all the specific elements of HTML. And there is your forms, that's green, your document sections, your meta tags, and then your text semantics, etc., etc. But in building a UI, what does this actually mean? So what is an atom? So an atom, for instance, is a text area, in this case, where you can actually enter a keyword, and then there is a button. And these two together actually form a very important part, and they make a molecule. So a button by itself is an atom. Together with a text input area is actually a molecule. And if we put a few other things, a few other atoms together, we will get an organism. And if you can think of what an organism could be, well, it is a navigation. So if you think of a UI, always think of what is the simplest component that I need and that I need to define. What goes with that component that also needs definition, and what is the element that I'm actually building? Because an enter keyword area, text input area by itself actually means nothing. All right, it needs a button, or it needs the trigger that will actually activate the search. By itself, a button home means very little. Together with 4 or 5 other elements, it makes navigation, which is a very powerful thing with regards to a website or an app design. So just keep that in mind. Keep in mind that we're working with these small components, atoms. We put them together with other elements. They make up molecules. And in the end, we can therefore start to design organisms, which will give us enough information to start building templates, which in the end will give us actual pages. Okay. For some color inspiration, I thought I will just go to my favorite place, and that is actually color.adobe.com. If you just click, or if you go there for the first time, I love the fact that, yes, you can create from scratch. You can click monochromatic. You can choose a color by actually just drawing through it. And then you can choose whether you want a triad, you want a split complementary, you want a square. Just remember in web and any interactive design, we do need a lot of contrast. So when you actually look at monochromatic, just make sure that you have a high contrast color with a low contrast, so that you can actually create accessible design. And then what is obviously very nice is if we actually just click on shades, we can just kind of like move our little color picker around, and it gives us amazing shades. But what I do like even more about color at Adobe is if you click on explore, you can click anything. This is obviously the classic blue of this here. You can click on anything, and also if I want to look at ice cream, I can get a color palette that would help me to actually look at beautiful ice cream colors. So in this case, I quite like this one. And what is nice about it is that you can copy the CSS, but you can obviously copy every color as is. So if you just click on it, just copy to the pasteboard and you can use it. So very, very useful, color.adobe.com. All right, so without any further ado, as they say, I'm going to quickly take you through the steps of designing a UI style guide. Again, take in consideration that you have to show color palette, typography, super important. You've got to cover UI elements and forms. Those are things like buttons, primary buttons, small buttons, larger or smaller, mediums. You've got to do your inputs. What does a text input actually look like? What does an error look like? Your pagination. What does your social media buttons look like? Any of the system icons, I didn't do a lot. And then finally, your navigation. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a large web page in XD. And I'll just double click and I'll just say it's UI style guide. And I'm just going to enlarge it by actually dragging down or putting a very big height in. All right, I'm also going to save this file. I'll choose my folder. And I'm just going to call this UI style guide. Okay. I'm starting always with a little background color, just so that white actually shows up, because otherwise, you know, it doesn't always, you always have to use a border if white is your color. Whereas if you have a little background color, then it's fine. I'm just going to take down the border. I'm going to just choose a off kind of like bluish gray, and not too in your face. This must be very, very soft. Also just plus it so it's there, and then I will just align it and I will save it. So what I thought to do is to create a style guide for a new ice cream parlor called Cravings. Very original, Anka, very original. So I'm just going to go UI style guide. And I'm just going to make this as a headline. I'm just going to make this 48. Or maybe 36. All right, I am going to use, for this, I'm going to use Roboto, but then Cravings, let me just double check. But then Cravings is going to be, I'm going to use Montserrat for it, my favorite. And I'm also going to decrease the kerning for, and I'll just increase the size. And this is going to be medium. Let me make it bold. Nope, medium it is. Semi-bold? Yeah, okay. For this color, I will choose a little bit later, but for now, this is oopsie, this is fine. And I will just give it, let's just give it a line underneath. One is fine. Okay. So first we're going to start off with our main headlines that we're going to use. So I'm going to start off with, this is color palette. And I am going to use Montserrat for that. And I'll use regular for now. And then I'll drag it and we'll do the next one. This is primary. Make that a bit smaller. And like -20. And this time I'm going to use light. Remember also, when you choose fonts for a web or an app or any actually online design piece, make sure that you choose a really nice big family, a family that has, font family that has a lot of variation, that has lights, that has mediums, that has bolds. Yes, in HTML you can go from, what is it, 100 to a 900, but still it just gives you a lot of options while you're designing. Now, when do you actually do UI? You ask. Okay, for me, I normally design the site, the homepage, and I kind of then present it to my client. And once I kind of get the go ahead of the look and feel, I would start to build the style guide. I do not design a style guide normally right before I've designed anything. All right, obviously you're going to scam something up, but for me, a style guide kind of comes after the client has approved it. So I now really know, yes, the client loves Roboto, yes, the client loves Montserrat, but not kind of right before anything is done. Okay. So now I'm going to go to my Adobe color. I'm going to copy this color. And I'm going to start by actually just drawing my little color blocks. Now, how I like to do this is I find the inspiration of that one really, really useful. So I'm just going to kind of use the same. So now I can just paste and that color has come up. Okay, if I enter, it's there. Okay, and I now can also plus it. So it is in my XD library. Okay, all right, so I'm going to take that. I'm going to create a little white over. I'm just going to take the border off. I'm going to duplicate this, bring it to the front, take the fill off, and then mask these two. And then I have my color block. Now I hope they're going to fit in. I'm sure they will. Right. Oopsie, sorry. I'll give it what, 35. Oopsie, no. I'm going to group that. 30 is fine. I love this feature in XD. It's really, really helpful. Okay, so now I can go back into my, I'm going to copy my second color back into color, Adobe, paste it, there it is, plus it, go back, copy this one, paste it, plus, enter, plus, next. Paste it, enter, plus, last one, copy, double click, paste it, enter, and plus. Okay. All right, so when that is done, we are just going to, I mean, we can now group them. That's probably best if you're not 100% sure what they are. You can actually just save them, give them a name, which is better. But just to speed up time, I'm not going to do that just yet. So now if I click in my fill, I can click on that color and I can just copy it. So I'm going to paste it in here. This I am actually going to choose two colors, or a color that I want to use for my text color. Now text I quite like to have like a grayish blue. To me that is always quite nice. So I'm just going to choose a kind of a grayish blue. I'm going to plus it. If I'm not happy, then yeah, I'm going to just choose one. All right, and just going to do this as medium and take down the size. So let's do this as 22, probably 20. Okay, and then we can just add that there. I'm going to just, I'll drag this. Oh, where's my last one? And then the same story, I'm going to double click in the pink, copy, and paste. Did it not copy? Paste it. Next. Copy. Obviously, the hex numbers are super important. Yes, you can do RGBs as well. I have seen a lot of style guides that have got both, but it's super important that you at least obviously have the hex numbers, because that's how we code. Love this color. Okay, so this is kind of your primary color. Now from there on, you need tints of that. Okay, so very important. Now also you must decide which is going to be your main button colors, and for your main button colors you will have tints and shades, which is really important because, as I said, your pressed normally is a little bit darker. Your disabled could be a bit lighter, so you do need a set of shades and a set of tints on your colors, so you have to think about it. So and I think if you look at the one that I've done before, you don't have to call them anything. They are still part of your primary, so you don't necessarily have to give them a name. They are really just your tints. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that block, and I'm just going to I'll drag it. Now what's going to happen now is just make sure that you have the right one, and I'm just going to kind of drag 3. Hope they fit in here. And just bring that one over a bit. Make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so in this case, I am going to go a little bit lighter. So again, I'm just going to double click inside. And now you just got to move your little color picker ever so slightly. Same. So that you get tints of that color. And then the same with my brown. So I'm just going to group that one, and I'm just going to, I'll drag it here. Oopsie. Just align it nicely. Same story. You're going to click in and, whoopsie. You're going to click in and until you only see your fill, and then you need kind of 3. I'm a bit wide on this one. Same story, you're going to click in your fill and you want to just draw it up, and just remember that you don't want to get dirty. No, you don't want to get dirty. You just actually want to go up because you want a tint. Okay, happy with that. And now we can look at so you can go, if you want to label it, you can do tints. Now we can, in some I've also seen amazing gradients. So yes, you can even do gradients. So I'm gonna take that color, my pinkish color, and I'll do 2 gradients. Because gradients are kind of like, you know, very sexy. So it's gonna go in. Go linear gradient. I'm going to just change my side, and then I'm going to do this one. Obviously is going to be from the lightest color to the dark, to the maybe even do a, yeah, let's do a cream. And then the second one, we can take out the just going to click in solid color, linear, and I just turn my darker color is now going to be my brown, and the lightest color is going to be my light pink, or maybe probably that. And then we can obviously also move it across a little bit. So let's just change that. It looks a bit weird. Let's keep it at light pink, and we just move our midpoints across. Okay, so now we've got two gradients. All right, and you can always put your hex number there so that people can actually know that it is those two. But I'll leave it out for now. All right, I'll just save. So the next is that I want is a text color. So as I said, what I like to do is I like a dark gray for my text color. So I'm just gonna choose a new color for my text color, and again double click in, and I'll just choose one of these, dark gray, and copy the hex number and paste it. And then obviously we have the light color, sorry, and that could be this one. Don't need that. Oops. Okay. All right, so that's your first part. And as I say, now you can do secondary colors if there's more colors, or you can choose a tertiary color, complementary colors, or in this case, as I said, you can have colors just for your switches. Okay. So this is color palette done. Happy with that. I have my primaries, I have my tints, I have some gradients there, and looks like there is a little border there. That looks weird, but anyway. And I have my text color. So okay, so then the next that I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my typography. I'm going to do typography, and now we are going to set our different font styles. And as I said, quite important, the typography must be as self-explanatory as you possibly can. Show as much as you can. All right, you can rather show too much than show too little, because the developer do not want to think. His job is not to think about your design. His job is to actually take this UR style guide and just go and develop and code the site that you obviously not designed every single page for. You've designed components. You might have designed 4 pages of, say, 35, because you do not design 35 pages. All right. Again, you design atoms. You put the atoms together to form molecules, and these molecules then become organisms, and they code organisms. So that is why it's really important for you to understand the nature of atomic design. Okay, so I'm going to make a little block, and then I'm going to start to actually work on my actual design. So same story, I'm going to take the border off. Now I'm going to use that dark color just to show, don't really have to, what is this in height? It's 235, I can use the same, 235. Width's 235, and that is 110. This is 115. 115. 110. Okay, so I'm going to use that dark color just so that I can see what my text will look like when it's on reverse. So again, I'm taking my border off, darker color, And now I can start to type. So always just going to start with a big A and an A, big A and a small a. And the first one always starts either from light to bold or from bold to light. So the first that I know that I am going to use actually is Avenir semi-bold. That's the boldest that I will go for this specific design. And now I am going to make it the right color. And then I'm going to state what it is. So this is headline, and do this in 20. So this is headline. Underneath you can do font is Montserrat, and you can do semi-bold. Maybe 16. And again, the right color in this case is that blue. And you can always say this is headline and H1. Okay, so I'm just going to group this and then make a new block and then another one. Okay, and now this one is going to be Montserrat regular. This could be headline H2, and we can call this is a subheadline. And again, can do it in regular. This could be our sub. And H3. Now, I'm not putting sizes on this because the sizes will come here after. This is just kind of the look and feel. All right, so, and this is going to be light. Okay, so I need more, need a smaller font. So we'll just do that. 14. It's a very wide font, so 14. And let's change that to light as well. And here you now also show what it actually looks like, you know, when it is in fact, just move this across. Okay, all right. And we should just zoom out. That's what we have now. I mean, those blocks can be bigger. We can add some stuff in there on the side, but for now it's fine. Okay, so then I'm just going to actually start by typing them out. So again, I would say this is headline. And I am making this is now the actual headline. So now I'm deciding what is my actual H1s going to look like. So I'm going to make them say 38 for now and 48 for my leading. And I'm also going to play, because this is so wide, I'm going to play with my kerning. Now just remember that kerning or tracking is very difficult actually to do inside of web design, because it's very fine. It's like 0.1 EM. So just make sure that you don't confuse the web developer. Okay, so my headline or my H1 is then going to be semi-bold. So now you set it in what it is. Okay. So you replicate it. Okay, so this is my headline, and then I can underneath that, doesn't have to be in the same font now. I mean in the same size. Now I can say it is sorry, font family. Oh my goodness, okay. Font family, I'm just going to make this to say 14.20. This is now font family, and it's Montserrat. Font size, and then we can do font weight. Font size and leading. And font weight. Okay, we might need more space here. We might need more space there. Okay, so then let's do our font weight. Sorry, our font weight is actually below. So let's just take that and put it there. So this font weight is semi-bold. And then our font size, as we said, is 38 and 48. And now it is 38 px and 48 px. Okay. Now what we can do is, as I said, we can actually set a line of text, or in this case, the very specific, the brown fox jump over the lazy dog, just to show how it is. But I'm going to finish all of them first. So then this one is going to be my H2, and it is a subheadline. Now, if you also have gone to type scale, you will see how beautiful, type scale is really useful. You'll see how beautiful it can actually work. But in my case, I'm actually just going to roughen it up a little bit. So I am now going to say this is 30 and 40, and it is regular. So now we just can change this to regular as well. And then 30 and 40. Okay, this is then, say, 24 and 30. So this is, and this is now light, and this is subheadline, and this is our H3s. So again, set it in the correct font weight. So this is light, and double check it is 24 and 30. Remember that in web, you always need a little bit more, or any interactive design, you need a little bit more leading. No? It's not 120%, it's actually 140% because of the thumb. So you need to have enough space there for somebody to press a link. So yeah, so I'm just going to move this slightly up. All right, and there's my headlines now. So now, as I say, now we can go and find that line, and actually it is the lazy fox jump over the lazy dog. Well, the quick fox, yeah. So we can just copy that line from Wikipedia because that is the line that we need to use. So then I'm literally just going to, I'll drag that. And we will set it. And then you will also see what it obviously looks like with the leading. So once you've set it, you can say, no, I probably need a little bit less leading. So because it's a headline, this can go less leading. So I'll go 42. That looks better. Okay, so yes, 42 it is. Okay, and then I'll drag this one. Same story. Now, the other thing that you could do is you can obviously select your headline too. You can go here on your assets. You can go and click on character assets, and then it's saved. So if I then click on, so much easier. Okay, so yes, you can do that as well. So same story here. In fact, it's a headline. I don't need such a big leading, so I'm actually going to minimize that to, let's do that 36. This one also, I'm going to select it. I'm going to plus a style because then if I'll drag it, it's just easy to do. Oopsie, it's just easy. And just in case, let's just see what that leading looks like. Yeah, because it's so small, it does need more leading. All right. Okay, so now we've got our headlines. Now we can go to body text or our paragraphs. So I will just sorry, I'll do a new subheadline here. Just drag all of this down a little bit. Headings. Remember also that you can get guides in XD if you just hover. You just kind of like hover outside of your pasteboard or your you get your guides. So happy with that. Headings, yes, and then we can do this one and we'll just say paragraphs. And then the same we're going to do for paragraphs. So I can just do a very simple, sorry, not that one. I can do a very simple, say, paragraph 1. And this time I'm going to do it in regular. And it is 16 and 22. Regular and 16 and 22. And I'll just save it. And again, let's take that. Let's do a character style plus. And now we will see. Now, a lot of times what's also nice if you actually put some Lorem Ipsum in there, if you have a plugin for XD, you can get otherwise you'll just go to Beer Ipsum and my favorite Ipsum Lorem. And we'll just copy a little bit. And now you can also see, you know, if it is too big. So in this case, I would probably say, no, I can actually make this 14 and I can make this 20. So make this 14 and 20. Much better. Okay, so that's our first paragraph. And then we can have a paragraph 2 where we might want to go semi-bold. But you won't use a complete paragraph for, but maybe you want to do like an intro paragraph, so a few lines. So I'll do a semi-bold. And a semi-bold. And there you have your paragraphs. Okay, so you've got your headlines, you've got your subheadlines, you've got your subheadlines, you've got your paragraphs. So now the other thing is our text label. So what does it actually look like when we have text on or in an input or as a button? So that is what we do, what we need to do next. So I'm actually just going to do this here. So we'll just do a text label. And again, we just want to say this is text label. And in this case, I am going to do a semi-bold. And I literally just need to test it. Okay. No, that looks so cool. That looks cool. Maybe we want to do it a little bit bigger. So maybe we want to do it 16 and never going to have more than one. So I'll just do a normal heading. Right. But you may want to increase that. Increase your tracking. So I'll just do 50. So that's great. There's a little bit of space there. Okay, so one other thing on the headlines that I like to do is then to actually look at what it looks like when there are caps. So I'll just draw another line and I'll just make it full caps. And then you also sometimes see that you need some kerning. All right, so then you can fix the kerning, and you can obviously add it. So now we've got our text label, we've got our paragraphs, and we are good to go. All right, so I'll just draw my little divider there. That's grand. Okay, next area that we need to cover. So we've got a paragraph, we've got headings, we show what our headings look like. Next is we've got a text label, we're happy with that, and now we're going to get to our UI elements. So that's what we're going to do next. All right, so I'm just going to drag my little headline there, and then I'll just do, this is number 3, and I'll just do the UI elements. And what did I say? Forms. Okay, so I'm going to use this block again, so I will just copy it in here, and I'm going to paste it. So I'm going to start with, I'm just going to ungroup it. I'm just going to start with let's just lock this background, which is really irritating. So I'm just going to, what is that? I'm just going to lock it. Is that 8 or is that 1? Okay. So I'm going to just ungroup that. So I'm going to start with my largest buttons. So I'll do something like a 235, yes, at about a 65. So that's a nice, at 100%, let's just look at it at 100%. Always look at it at 100%. Yeah, that's a really nice, large button. All right, so I'm going to start with my large button. Now I know that they are going to have at least 4 states. So I have an active state, I might have a hover state, I have a press state, and then I have a disabled button. So sometimes you don't need, or sometimes people say you don't need a disabled, but it's always good to have a disabled. So I'm just going to, again, what was this? Was it 30? Can't remember. Maybe you just want to drag a guide there. So drag a guide. So yeah, so 1, snap, and snap. All right, so I need, I'm just going to take this. This is active. I'm going to double check this, a bit smaller. And 50. $24. Yeah, I don't like the. I'm not a upper and lowercase. I like uppercase. It's just so much cleaner. So much cleaner. What was this? This is now 24. Sorry, I just want to fix this because this is irritating me. 50. Yeah. Yeah, this is cleaner. Cleaner. Sorry. But yeah, it's just irritating me. Nicer. Much better. Much, much better. I mean, really, even the style guide, it needs to be designed. I mean, you're a designer, so you need to design these things. They can't look uncrafted. They have to look professionally crafted. So yeah, so that's why it takes time. Okay, so headlines, paragraphs, text labels, the other one. So let's just fix that. It's also 24 and it's 50 and it is uppercase. Beautiful. Much better. Okay, so we've got an active state, then we've got a hover state, then we have pressed, and then we have disabled. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to take my text label and I'm just going to bring it to the front. And my text label, now you can also test the size. And I will just say this is button text. And we said that that color is the light. All right. So happy with that. Happy with that. Boom. Boom. So let's look at the color usage. So hover, I normally like a shadow for my hovers. Okay, just remember that if you do remember material designs, very soft. It's not in your face. It's not 50. It's really just a soft hover, and it's also not that big. Okay. So this is my hover. I don't like to have my hover that different in color. I think that's a little bit old, but maybe that's just me. But there might be something. So I'm just going to give it a kind of an inside border. So, and I'll just use my lighter color for that. So that's my hover. And then for my pressed, I'm going to choose a darker color. So then I'm just going to go down. I'll just plus that as well. Maybe we need to add that to our color scheme. And then again, I'm just going to add a shadow. Now, if it doesn't remember it, just double check. If it doesn't remember it, it should, but if it doesn't, just make sure that it's the same. And then disabled normally is just the text just lighter, so we can just take the text opacity down. Okay, so there's my different buttons. So I have a slight over in my hover. I have a slight change in color. We can also do that lighter if you feel like it. That's why you want to do a lighter tint. Then it's fine. Let's just go up then, and let's just choose these colors, and let's just add them to our color palette. And then if we feel like our hover needs to be that lighter color, then we can. Okay, and then maybe this border is then our normal color. All right, so that's our hover. So it's a slight color, it has a drop shadow, pressed is darker, and disabled is just text. All right, so this is our first set of. Now let's just label this properly. So I'm just going to drag this down, and this is going to be, let's say, our large buttons. Dear me. Just fix that. These are large buttons. Okay. Oops. Did I not group this? Did I not? Okay, all right. And then our second is going to be a different color, and again that could be our brown. So I'm going to choose my brown, same story. Let's go up and just save this color. Plus it. All right, so now if we go and we select our hover, then we know it's that one, and that is then the darker one. Pressed is then a darker brown. And again, it's brown. and our button text is lighter, so it stays the same. So beautiful, very easy. Large buttons both. Now we can do exactly the same for our smaller buttons. Okay, smaller buttons. So if I go back here, what you need is you need some smaller buttons, and then you need maybe you want some switches, as I said, and you need to do your inputs. Table and pagination is super important. And then lastly, decide on how your social media is going to look like. And then obviously your navigation. So what does the hover look like in your navigation? Again, you have to use the same kind of rhythm, the same kind of let's call it color system that you've used across your style guide. So if we look at ours, it becomes it looks really cool. It is if we just move this up again, it's taking shape. Yeah, our UI style guide for cavings is taking a really nice shape. I think I like it. So yeah, so I hope you found this useful. Hope you now understand how important a UR style guide is, and actually how big it is, and how much attention to detail must be placed in a UR style guide for it to be really, really useful. All the decisions that you need to make for your design needs to live in this document. Decisions about button sizes, decisions about the spacing around buttons or the spacing around the text. These are all, because remember, they're padding. So you need to actually show that. So if I can go back to this really great example, there's table data, cards, if you're going to use cards, or you're going to use cards, or your system icons. And then, as I said, this is really important. So what is the actual spacing in your website going to look like? What is your margins going to look like? What is your padding going to look like? Those are decisions that you as a designer must make, and that must live in your UI style guide. So that is why it is super important that when you start to design it, you really pay attention to every pixel. That's also why we call it pixel perfect. Really, every pixel makes a big difference. But this document is your roadmap to a very well-designed website or any interactive element. So you need to pay attention to it, and you need to do it thoroughly. All right, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it is insightful. Adobe XD is really great for setting this up. And yeah, remember Adobe Color. All right, that's it for now. Chat soon. Thank you. Bye.